Welcome into the Browns Halftime Live. I'm Camryn Justice. That's John Doss. The Browns are up 27-21. And
how?
What a wild
How are they winning this game?
To a game. I'll tell you how. Because even though the defense is playing some of its worst football,
its worst football. It is
the worst football that they have played.
The worst football this defense has played.
They are still playing the best football, the best defense that other teams play.
No.
Turnovers.
This defense is playing terribly.
They are.
One man.
Yes.
One man is playing like the best football player on the planet. And number 95 is the only reason this team is not just getting its butt kicked. They're winning somehow.
It's almost as if some would call him the defensive player of the year.
I mean, I see what Lamar Jackson is doing in Baltimore right now. Otherwise, Myles Garrett has been the most impressive man in the NFL right now. He's got 2 strip sacks, both of which the Browns recover, one in the end zone, the touchdown for Tony Fields. He hurdles over the offensive line to block a field goal, and Al is saying it's the Myles Garrett show. Myles Garrett has completely controlled this game, and he has been a godsend because Cleveland has done almost nothing else right.
You're absolutely right. And offensively, there have been issues we have to talk about first.
Oh, have there been issues?
There have been issues.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about first the quarterback situation right now. PJ Walker is in. Deshaun Watson got the start today. He was cleared. He was medically cleared weeks ago. He was cleared again today for functionality purposes. His shoulder responded well to rehab. They said that he was looking good enough to drive the ball, and so he started against the Colts today. The opening drive, explosive, not because of Deshaun Watson, because Jerome Ford's 69-yard touchdown run, that was very impressive. But Deshaun Watson's first pass, right? Looked low.
What happened on that? Oh, his first pass was short.
Short, yes.
Yeah.
First pass short. Then they switch to the run game, get Jerome Ford the ball. He breaks out 8 yards, then 69 touchdown. Great. Then offense comes back out there, and Deshaun Watson throws a pick.
Yeah.
And
so, this is not good.
No.
Then Deshaun Watson throws what looks like another interception. It is ultimately ruled an incomplete pass.
Mm-hmm.
And Watson is down, right? And he's checked for concussion. He's cleared for concussion. The team has said nothing, Camryn, correct me if I'm wrong. The team has said nothing about his shoulder as to why he is not playing.
No, there's
irregardless. Watson has looked atrocious. Not just rusty. He has looked overwhelmed. Complete lack of confidence, as Robert McCain here says. Confidence is shot. And I feel like his confidence is shot. Stefanski's confidence in him is shot. The Browns fan base's confidence in him is completely shot. He looks like the weakest part of your team when he's on the field.
And that is
not like the $230 million quarterback.
Exactly. That is the exact opposite of what you need in this situation. You went out and got him to be a leader of this offense, to turn this team around. And that is not what you have gotten out of him. He's 1 for 5. An interception, 5 yards. This is not what you want. And shoulder aside, he was cleared to play. He's been medically cleared to play. He was functionally cleared to play. He had to have said he felt good. And this cannot be what you get out of him, even if he is still not 100%. It's decision-making too. It's the way that it's the choices he's making, the passes he's throwing to double coverage, things like that. That can't happen from your franchise quarterback. He's a veteran. He knows what he needs to do. He looks rattled out there, and that cannot be the case.
He looks completely rattled. And I tweeted that one of these quarterbacks looks like a $230 million star, and one of them looks like a rattled backup quarterback who's in over his head. Gardner Minshew has looked damn near incredible. Receivers seem to be wide open downfield on all plays. But Watson has looked overwhelmed. And maybe the most scary thing about this, Cam, is that this is not an isolated incident. Yes, he looks maybe worse than we've seen him. And maybe a portion of that is that he hasn't played since week 3. But how many good games has he played? 1, maybe 2.
1.5.
Yeah. And so Marcia says, I hope they put Watson back. I hope they don't put Watson back in ever. And, I know PJ Walker has not done much himself. But as soon as he came in on that fumble recovery, they went down and scored a touchdown. Mm-hmm. They have put up points on all but one of the drives he's been in. And again, I know it's not necessarily him, but drives were stunting with Watson.
Yeah.
And Al says the excuses have to stop for 4. And you knew some of them were going to come today, right? He's rusty. He hasn't played in 4 weeks, blah, blah, blah. But there's nothing in the body language. There's nothing in the production that tells me this is the guy you thought he was.
No.
And if that's the case, Cam, you only have one choice. You have to make a move at the deadline.
And that's where it becomes tough. This move was such a big one from the Browns, right? This isn't, oh, you drafted a guy or you went and you signed a guy that just like you thought could do the job. You went all in.
Yeah.
You pushed the chips into the table and now you're sitting there and you're looking at your hand and maybe it's not what you thought it was. Maybe it's taking too long to get where you thought it was. But that's the problem is even if you look at the potential, that game against the Titans, you saw what he was able to do. It had the potential. He's not stacking these games up.
Yeah.
The potential is there, but how long are you able to wait for it to get there? It becomes really hard. And this game is one of those examples. He's on the sideline. He's not dealing with a concussion. He's holding his shoulder, but he's been medically cleared from that. And there's a point where you have to you want to see him at least give it a go, or there needs to be more clarity behind this situation.
Yeah.
And that's not where it's at.
Yeah. I love that you made a poker reference because, I'm in my basement, which is where I host my poker games, but also because you're right. There comes a moment in every house game where you push all in and you lose. And you have to decide, do I go back into my wallet and do I rebuy or do I go home or do I go upstairs and I sulk about it and I let it ruin my night? The Browns are going to have a decision to make, unfortunately. Are they going to waste what is a historically good defense? Not go to the playoffs, not challenge. Or are they going to make a play for somebody like a Kirk Cousins that can give them that opportunity to make a play late? And, you're right about the shoulder. So they came back from break with about 3 minutes left, and you can see Deshaun Watson talking with an assistant and pointing to his shoulder. I'm sure once we get an update from the Browns PR staff that will be the update, that Watson is questionable to return with a shoulder injury. But we just haven't seen it, Cam. We haven't seen it. What we are going to have to see is the Browns defense play like they did in the second half of the second quarter and not like they did in the first quarter and a half of this game today. Then they'll have a real shot at winning. But if it's Swiss cheese city in the secondary and their tackling is porous like it was, it might be a long second half.
It might be. It might be this battle, which it gives a lot of entertainment for us to watch.
Is this entertaining to you?
I don't know, a little bit.
Are you not entertained?
I am so entertained by Myles Garrett in this game. And also, before we get out of here, you got to give the man his flowers. Dustin Hopkins, Mr. Automatic.
Oh, my God.
Mr. Automatic.
Just build the statue. And they made it harder on him there at the end of the half when, with 9 seconds left, you would think, especially with a prevent defense, take a little 10-yard out route, make it a little easier of a field goal for him. Instead, PJ Walker chucks it out of the back of the end zone, and it makes it a 54-yarder. No doubt about it, right down the middle. I love Al. Man, Al's my favorite commenter now. Kenny Rogers quote.
Here we go.
You got to know when to fold them. Sometimes sometimes you're dealt a bad hand, Camryn. You can't sit there and lament about it and hold on to it. You got to muck them.
You got to take every opportunity that they've got right here. They've got a great defense that's playing not their best today, led by Myles Garrett, who's playing out of his mind. They've got good offensive weapons. Let's see, Amari Cooper get in the mix here a little bit more in this second half. That's been a little strange, but I like that Marquise Goodwin had his moment. They have some pieces and parts that they've done right, some really weird stuff going on, but overall, they're in a good position going into the second half.
Lillian says if it wasn't for Myles Garrett, my opinion would be losing the game. If it wasn't for Myles
Right.
Garrett, this would be a
Bloodbath.
butt kicking. This would not be a. This would be a varsity versus a freshman team. Is what this would look like.
Mhm.
All right. Robert says first possession, don't let them score. I was just say, Cam, we called this last week. We wanted the Browns to go down and score. That's what they did. We need them to come out. Doesn't have to be a 3-and-out necessarily. Get a stop here. No points.
And, and then points on the boards right after. I know you were like, touchdown, wait, I don't care about a touchdown. Take a field goal. Just keep adding the points. However you can get them.
Yeah.
And they're in good shape.
Stops and Hopkins. Stopkins, baby.
Stopkins. Love it. Well, second half starting soon. 27, Browns on top. Colts, 21. We'll see you next week. See you, John.